So Joe Rogan, who just went over to Spotify, making $25 million or whatever, now comes out and says games are a problem. He's about my age. I'm about 1 month older than him. Less than 1 month. You get a lot. Let's get into it. Now, I'm not sure who this guy is, but let's hear the full thing here.
There were a ton of kids along the way growing up as I was building my business that would say, "Oh, I'm not into this. I'm not into that." Kind of like you described yourself.
Yeah.
And they don't do anything because they're looking for that thing. And I would argue, do something.
Okay. I can agree with that. I mean, there's people out there that all they do is game, and it actually gets them nowhere. But that's something you need to develop too. I get a part-time job or do something while you're younger, and keep playing and see how things work out.
Never been that kid though. I've always been into things. I always was into art, or I was into something. I always found things that I was interested in. Just none of them seemed like they were normal things that other people wanted to do for a living. Like
art is pretty big business. Yeah, it's pretty big business. You paint a painting and show it off in a gallery. Now it's got to be good. It's got to be very good for you to make a living at it. And it's something that will, be your career.
The path, like a career path. But I think that there's a lot of people that don't have any, there's no one, they're not modeling their life after someone that they see that they admire.
Why do you need to model your life after someone you admire? You pick a career path, something that you enjoy doing, and that's what you do. You don't have to model yourself after someone.
Someone that's successful, someone that is doing something that they enjoy and love. Sometimes kids have to see that. Right. And if their parents are living a bullshit life and their neighbors live in a bullshit life and most of their family lives a bullshit life, they just fucking lay around,
Well, that's being a product of your environment. Now, who we are based on our life experiences. If you've experienced, nothing but sadness and despair most of your life, very well likely you're going to grow up perpetuating the same thing. And that's a mold that's hard to break because that becomes hardwired into your brain.
And then they seek refuge in drugs or video games or something that stimulates them.
Now, drugs would be a bad thing. I don't see escaping with video games unless it's an addiction as being bad or harmful. Hello, like I said, Joe, you're about the same age as me. I'm a little older than you, and so we've had, we've grown up in the same timeline-ish. A lot's changed. When we were growing up, your career was, usually industrial, especially, around the Northeast. Everything was geared towards, auto manufacturing, steel manufacturing. Those jobs are gone. Those whole industries are gone. They're not in this country anymore. So it is a lot more difficult to pick a career path that is going to make you successful, because computers in our lifetime have evolved so far from a Timex Sinclair 1000 to the computers we use now. There is nothing that, they're both computers, but it's like comparing a candle to a huge light that can light up the sky.
And video games are a real problem. They're a real problem. You know why? Because they're fucking fun.
There's a reason they're fun. they're a way of escaping. But as far as being a problem, it's the new evolving industry. Streamers, videos on YouTube, TikToks, name it. It's a new growing industry. There's three things I will guarantee you in life: death, taxes, and change. The old industries of the past, they're gone. The days of lamplighters, people that would go around with a match and light the lanterns on the street, those jobs are long gone. Well, what's that got to do with today? They're not around today, is the point.
And you don't, well, I have a real problem with them. And you do them, and they're real exciting, but you don't get anywhere.
Right.
It's like
you can get places if you have a good personality and you stream. Even though Mixer is shut down, there's still platforms out there that you can stream gaming. And believe it or not, people make a living off that. That's new industry.
Do like martial arts, right? You could learn jujitsu. You get obsessed by jujitsu.
I'm not gonna listen through all this because it's, again, not everybody has the capacity or drive to learn a martial art. Not everybody is built to take that type of punishment, and martial arts can be very punishing to a body. I mean, there are people that can, but also you have to look at the demand. Is there a lot of demand for something like martial arts? No. Has it been huge? No, not really. Aikido, karate, all these other martial arts, they're great. Make no mistake. I took Aikido. I took Wing Chun. And, was I good at them? Yeah, I was good at it. And did it help me? Yes. But it's not my career path. And the likelihood that you're going to get 100 students, not likely. And if you were, a martial arts studio, you're shut down right now in like most of the nation.
Fuck game is, next Xbox game to come out, and you could be that same kid just playing video games, waiting for the next whatever the fuck game is, next Xbox game to come out, and you're gonna waste your time.
You have to.
New industry, change. This is the future, okay? The games I played, that Joe Rogan played, are not anything like the games that you can get now. Apex Legends, Battle Royale, Modern Warfare, Warzone, Overwatch, CS:GO. These are new industry.
You have, and it's a big battle in the house.
Yes.
And my kids, I don't know if you're going through this, but my kids are now saying, "Well, Dad, this guy made all this money with this video game. He's
that's
a man."
Real too. That's
right?
real too now.
So like that's 1 in a billion, kid. Like,
okay, Boomer, you're stuck in this mindset that your children need to have the same career path that you did, or do something the way you did, and you'll be successful. Doesn't work that way. The economy does not work that way. There's some jobs that are needs at this time. I worked retail for 23 years. Do you think retail is going to be anybody's future? In the future? No. So your children are trying to convince you and show you evidence. Hey, Dad, look at this. This is, what I could be doing. Oh, that's 1 in a million, kid. Well, that's a good way to put self-esteem into your kids. No, you shouldn't do this way. You should do what I did and do it that way. That may have worked then, but it's not necessarily going to work in the future or even now.
I don't know if it's 1 in a billion, but look, I heard the same argument about comedy. My own parents were like, "Do you know how few people make it as a comedian?" I was like, "Okay."
Okay, so Joe, goes on this spiel about being a comedian, that blah blah blah. We're gonna skip ahead, which effectively shoots down his guest's argument. So, few points for Joe.
Be adaptable. You have to be able to play multiple video games, because the one video game that you get really good at, what are the odds that's going to be around 5 years from now?
Pac-Man's still around. When did Pac-Man come out? That was like the first arcade-built machines were Pac-Man. Pac-Man's still around. People know what Pac-Man is. Space Invaders. Okay, but they don't necessarily watch them. But I've watched streamers on Twitch play a whole host of variety of games. A lot of them are retro games. A lot of them are new games. Games come out. You have to be adaptable. Well, this really doesn't change much. And neither does this. You can bind the keys to do certain actions to the way you're accustomed to using them. That stuff doesn't necessarily change, and if it does change, 99.9% of the games I've played, you can change those key bindings to to have them do what you're used to having them do.
Like, what's the big one now? Like Fortnite? Is that? Do they make money off of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's
Do they make money off Fortnite? Yes, Joe. Fortnite makes more money than you have in your lifetime, even with your $25 million signing with SoundCloud or whatever.
Call of Duty. They make
yeah.
money off that. What's the big money? StarCraft used to be the big one, right?
That, League of Legends, CounterStrike.
CounterStrike it's still the Half-Life mod.
Yeah, variations of it have come out, but it's still basic.
So you're defeating your own argument. But instead of changing your opinion, it's just video games are bad. And I'm not going to compare it to gambling, okay? You can be addicted to games and gaming. But you have to raise your children to observe moderation. Now, if your son or daughter wants to be a gamer, that's what they want to do. They have a passion for it, and they're good at it. It's not the career path that maybe you would have chosen for them or the career path that you've chosen. But it's their experience. It's their life, and ultimately they're going to make a decision based on what they want to do, not what you tell them to do. I've worked a commission job for most of my life, and your next paycheck was determined by how much you sold. If you didn't sell a lot, not due to necessarily anything that was your fault, but your paycheck suffered. Would you want that for your children? Oh, but it's a job. You're working for a company. So what? It's not a guarantee of stability, especially if it's commissioned. Or if they pay you a base wage, it's usually pittance.
The same exact game.
They don't make money off Quake, though, right? Not really.
Nah, really.
No.
One or two guys do, I think.
Yeah. See, it's you got to pick the right game. You could be obsessed with the wrong game.
What are you going to do? You're going to spend 5-10 hours a day in that
You
house?
have to.
Right.
You would have to.
When you work a job, you spend, if it's full time, 30 to 40 hours a week perfecting your technique in that job. So, yeah, you have to do the same thing for gaming. But you don't necessarily have to do that for every game. As I said, you can change the keyboard bindings so that Fortnite controls can be the same on Quake, so that you're not having to relearn new controls entirely. Now, there's, of course, going to be some exceptions with movement, but you get the idea. Or, same thing when you play on a controller, when I played Call of Duty World War II, and then I play Apex Legends. The movement, the keys that I press are the same for Apex Legends as they were when I played Call of Duty World War II. So I didn't have to relearn everything all over again. Like I say, he's right in some ways, but it's like he's stuck in that 70s mindset of, and this guy too, I don't know who he is, but he seems to be stuck in that same mindset of the 70s. It's not the 70s. The economy is evolving. It's changing. And it's been changing in my lifetime. And it's not going to stay the same. But that's just my opinions. Again, I'm sure you'll let me know yours in the comments down below. That's fine. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.